required to be expressed for validity. For validity. Everybody is important. Sometimes some are only for decoration. Sometimes some people draw beautiful decorations, and then the BTH level takes so many color pens, and then title, heading, underline, margins, beautiful. All these not required for validity.
No, sir.
So like that it happens. That is nothing sometimes. What is required? But still they will hide this. Super. Later on we will see in this context. With regard to permission, people will play with the superiors and things like that. So what they will do? Sometimes they will ask one authority permission. Authority would have denied. They go to the higher authority. They are expected to mention that the earlier authority, lower authority denied permission. They, as if first time they are coming and asking, they will ask another authority. That is also suppression. That's also suppression. Playing with the superiors by keeping them completely in dark of what happened earlier with regard to their attempt to get permission. So we have to keep in track all this suppression. Then second we come to obstruction. Obstruction. Obstruction is stating falsehood. The canon itself says, making of a false statement. Making of a false statement. Telling lies in the petition. Making a false statement. In the first case, you do not mention what you are supposed to mention. In the second case, you mention something which is untrue. Untrue. In order to get the favorable result from the competent authority. Favorable result from the competent authority. So, you are giving 5 reasons. There are 3 lies. 2 true reasons. What happens to the rescript? Petition suffers from 3 lies, 2 reasons. The canon itself says at least 1 reason is to be true. If 1 reason is true, then the rescript is valid. At least one of the motivating reasons has to be true. So very generous. The lawgiver is very generous. He doesn't speak about the majority of reasons. But then at least 1 reason must be true. 1 reason must be true. I always give a simple example. So 2 first cousins want to marry. What can be the reason? 2 first cousins want to marry. The law prohibits up to 4th degree consanguinity in the collateral line. Or somebody wants to marry his sister's daughter. Law prohibits the 2 derimen impediment. But still dispensation is possible. It is impossible in the 2nd degree of collateral line. It may be possible in the gravest of reasons. What can be some of the reasons, you tell me? You have to write a petition to ask for dispensation. What can be some of the reasons they want to marry, even though law prohibits?
They are in love for a long time.
Yeah, one is they are in love for a long time, okay. Then,
She will take care of my
Yeah, okay. Physically challenged. One of the parties is physically challenged. Then
both the family wants, both the families.
both the family want, that is not serious enough your reason. Both the family want is not important. The people wanting, the spouses wanting is more important. God is already present, too much. So you want to call it forcing it. He said politely, loud. Not only they were in love long time, they went cross the limit. Okay. Okay, then what other thing?
Except if nobody.
Age today maybe.
Yeah, why nobody else will marry? Yeah, that's important also. She said very politely, physically challenged. She is as ugly as possible. We think she is looking at us, she is looking somewhere else. Like that. So, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. What is attractive to you is ugly to me, and vice versa also. Then
Age.
Then age. Overaged, nobody will marry. So even when the child is born, they will call grandma only. So like that, age. Then you did not speak about poverty. This can there can be many reasons. Poor that nobody will marry. Not good looking that nobody will marry. Too advanced that nobody will marry. So these can be some of the reasons. The law says at least one of the motivating reason must be true. One of the motivating reason must be true. Suppose when they gave the petition, they were rich. The house got fire. Everything destroyed. God himself made them poor because they wrote in the petition poor. 5 days after sending the petition, they really became poor. Now, is the script valid or invalid?
It goes in line with the truth. It goes in line with the truth.
When they wrote the petition, they were very rich.
But when they give the script on the status of the family.
Now, we have said, Father, tell me whether it is forma graciosa, forma commissoria. If it is forma graciosa, the reason must be true when it is already signed or notified to the party. If it is forma commissoria, the reason must be true at the time of execution. That's what another canon says. The reason must be true at the time of execution, depending on coming into effect of the rescript. Depending on coming into effect of the rescript. So here the lawgiver seems to be very generous. If one of the motivating reasons is true, then the rescript is valid. Yeah.
For the nullity, the party puts some reasons, and if it is not true.
Yeah, nullity, if you are cheating, that will come under ground of deceit or fraud. They have in Tamil a saying, tell 1,000 lies and arrange a marriage, like that. But that is not applicable to canon law. If the party deceives the other party concerning something which is essential to the marriage, then the marriage will become invalid. Here there are 50 truths, only one untruth. Even this one untruth can make the marriage invalid, because if this is very important to the party. Not any kind of lies, but some kind of lies, some kind of deceit will make the marriage invalid because it takes away the consent. We are not dealing with rescript there, getting a favor there. The consent must be a valid consent. Consent must be a valid consent. Take the canon on deceit or telling lies with regard to marriage.
The consent is with subruption, Father.
Yeah.
The consent is with subruption. Something.
The consent is here is with the deceit. Subruption means they don't say then the party is in ignorance. So the other party is in ignorance. Most of the time everything is subruption only in the marriage. But that's why we asked the prenuptial inquiry form, do you know the party? Some of the girls say, no, I don't know him at all. They think it is a virtue. I have not even seen him. They think it is a virtue. You should not go ahead with the ban. Come on, see him first. I saw him only in the photo. I saw him only in that photo. In the photo, they have taken only half-size photo. Then afterwards, she finds out she is so tall only. You saw him in the photo, you don't know how tall he is. And then during the engagement, she is asked to stand on the stool. The boy did not know. Marriage day, there is a small girl only that is coming to marry. These are all cheating. So immediately you should react, I am not going to marry. Or you should have refused to consummate the marriage. Then only we can take that quality is very important for him. So here in Canon 1098, a person who contracts invalidly, who enters marriage inveiled by deceit, perpetrated in order to secure consent. The other party knows, if we don't tell this lie, we will not have that girl or boy. So in order to secure consent, concerning some quality of the other party, which of its very nature can seriously disrupt the partnership of conjugal life. So very important quality. Very important quality. So we come also with regard to marriage, ignorance and error. Error is making a wrong judgment. Ignorance. There also it is qualified. What type of error? She wanted to marry the elder brother. Suddenly younger brother comes. Error of person, immediately marriage is invalid. Error with regard to the quality depends on what type of quality, how important is that quality to that party. So all that we know, this has nothing to do, because it is lies, subruption and obruption, don't bring it to the question of consent. Consent must be true consent. Yes, subruption and obruption may affect the consent, but there it depends on what is important, that is completely different. Here we are speaking about petition. We are speaking about petition to get a rescript. We come to the third paragraph in this canon on rescript. What I said is, I gave already the example. Somebody while writing the petition was rich, later on became poor. Is the rescript valid or invalid? Depending on whether it is forma graciosa or forma commissoria. At the time the rescript comes into effect, the motivating reason must be true. That's what in paragraph 3. In rescripts of which there is no executor, the motivating reason must be true at the time the rescript is issued. In forma graciosa, the reason must be true at the time the rescript is issued. In forma commissoria, the reason must be true when it is executed. When it is executed. In canon 64 and 65, some norms are given that the beneficiaries may not cheat the hierarchy, may not deceive the hierarchy, competent authority. The beneficiary must not cheat the competent hierarchy. Norms of correctness. These are norms of correctness. Norms to safeguard hierarchical authority. Safeguard hierarchical authority. The first canon speaks about the Roman dicasteries. Roman dicasteries. Roman Curia. Canon 360 speaks about it. Different departments of the Roman Curia. Another terminology that's used is dicastery or department. Sometimes people can play with different departments of the Roman Curia. We have to consider them all equal. There are 9 congregations. All the 9 congregations are equal in their competence with regard to the subject matter that is entrusted to them. So here the canon says, a favor refused by any department of the Roman Curia cannot validly be granted by another department of the same Curia, or for that matter, by any other competent authority below the Roman Pontiff. I said about 9 congregations. You approach the Congregation of Doctrine of Faith. Sometimes it may happen that another congregation is also competent. Divine worship and discipline of sacraments. Congregation for liturgy. There is divine congregation for divine worship and discipline of sacraments. Suppose CDF, Congregation of Doctrine of Faith, said no. You cannot get a reply yes from this congregation. Why do you get yes? Because they do not know you approach them. Or any other authority or one of the pontifical councils. Any other authority from Roman Pontiff. Here the canon says, uses the word validly. Invalidating laws must expressly state. We studied in canon 10. Remember, validly. If you get yes from this another department, then the rescript you got is invalid. Rescript you got is invalid. So this department can grant only with the consent of the first department. Because all the collaborators of Roman Pontiff are equal. So that is the first thing. Granted by any other authority without the approval of the department which was first approached. The consent of the first department or dicastery or congregation, whatever it may be, must is a must for getting the favor. Only exception is given for internal forum, the penitentiary, the Roman penitentiary for the internal forum. That you can always, that is internal forum. We are dealing here with the external forum only. Internal forum, you can always approach the Roman penitentiary. Penitentiaria was apostolic penitentiary. Apostolic penitentiary can always be approached for the internal forum. There is no restriction in this matter. For all other matters, you have to approach the first department for consent for approval. They say also, when the village is divided, the dancers have a key day, have a nice time. So like that, sometimes when authorities are divided, people play between the authorities. People play between the authorities.
But even if there is no subscription, the person in the first case, from the divine.
One thing is, on the part of the person must inform that it was already denied. On the part of the authority must get the consent of the other department to grant. Otherwise, it is invalid. The person, this is the effect of superruption we are dealing with. Now, coming to other levels, for us that is rare. Canon 65 speak about the rest of the superruption and abruption, especially superruption. So, keep in mind paragraph 2 and 3, which we will study later. The first paragraph says, no one is to seek from another ordinary a favor which was refused by that person's proper ordinary, unless mention is made of the refusal. Now we come to ordinaries. Ordinary, proper ordinary. This is another ordinary. My proper ordinary is Archbishop of Pondicherry Kadalur, where I am incoordinated by my direction. He is my proper ordinary. I should not ask Archbishop of Bangalore when I should obtain from my proper ordinary. The canon says, no one is to seek from another ordinary a favor which was refused by that person's proper ordinary. My Archbishop says, suppose I am asking permission to go abroad. No. This Bangalore Archbishop says, yes, you go. I asked already permission. First of all, canon says, I should not ask him. I should not ask him. Unless I mention that I already asked my proper ordinary, he refused. Otherwise, it will involve superruption. It will involve superruption. Unless mention is made of the refusal. When the refusal is mentioned, the ordinary is not to grant the favor unless he has learned from the former ordinary the reasons for the refusal. So, can the other ordinary grant? Yes, on condition he knows from him the reason for the refusal. The reason for the refusal. There are two ordinaries. One is proper ordinary, whom you first approached. He refused. You want to ask another ordinary. First condition, mention that it was refused by your proper ordinary. Second condition, for the another ordinary, he must ask that person's proper ordinary why you refused permission. Otherwise, it is what?
It's invalid.
Invalid. It is never said in the canon invalid. It is only unlawful. Because invalid means It must be expressly stated according to Canon 10. Whatever is prohibited in canon law is not always invalid. I repeated it number of times. In the previous canon we saw invalid. Cannot be validly granted. In second and third paragraph, it is again mentioned valid. But in this paragraph, it is not mentioned. So you have to be very careful, canonists. Because it is prohibited, it is invalid, don't say. Now you read the paragraph 1 once again. Paragraph 1.
Without prejudice to the provisions of paragraph 2 and 3.
Paragraph 2 and 3 remain intact. I said to you about the meaning of what is without prejudice to. Do not think because of what is stated in paragraph 1, paragraph 2 and 3 is derogated. It is not derogated. Okay, continue.
No one is to seek from another ordinary a favor which was refused by that person's proper ordinary, unless mention is made of the refusal.
So it is put negatively. You should not ask unless you mention the refusal. Positively, you can ask another ordinary only when you mention the refusal of your own ordinary. Okay.
When the refusal is mentioned, the ordinary is supposed to grant the favor unless he has learned from the former ordinary the reasons for the refusal.
Yeah, the reasons for the refusal must be learned. Suppose without learning the reasons he gives, it is valid but unlawful. Because it is not expressly stated whether it is for validity in this particular paragraph. I was also thinking beginning stages and all it is for validity, but it is not expressly stated here. Coming to the other one, paragraph 2. Yeah.
The approach of proper ordinary for some favor.
Yeah.
Here, most of the times you may not, when somebody is granting that same favor, you may not tell the truth. Actually,
You have to tell the truth, it is unlawful. 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 Then the other ordinary also must first have common sense and ask, why you are coming to me? Did you ask your bishop even before a clever ordinary get a nickel of stuff from your own ordinary, he will say.
It's only consultation of other, not consent.
Not consent. He should know the reason.
That's all.
Know the reason. I don't think any ordinary is going to give against the wishes of the proper ordinary. That fellow is a thief. Just 2 months before only he went to another picnic, another tour. Now he is asking permission. He is a frequent visitor, frequent Roman. Like that. So don't ask for a favor.
He has some mutual understanding.
Mutual understanding with another ordinary. Unlawful. First of all, it should be unlawful.
Can Archbishop oversee that?
So, will you allow a man mutual understanding with another man's wife? No. That is more serious. That is more serious. Okay. Come to paragraph 2. A favor refused by a vicar general or an episcopal vicar cannot be validly granted by another vicar of the same bishop. In the case of vicar generals, sometimes, mostly we have one vicar general, sometimes 2 also. Episcopal vicar, 5 also. All the 7 are equal only. All the 7 are equal. So when one vicar general or one episcopal, even if episcopal vicar refuses, this episcopal vicar general should not grant it. Only thing is episcopal vicar limited. That's why some are